Pleasant evening, Mr. Buchanan. Thank you for joining us here on West Egg News Network. It is indeed a pleasure to have you speak with us today.
Thank you, Tashel. I'm happy to grant you the pleasure of sitting down with me for this interview here. I'm sure the people of New York would want to hear what Tom Buchanan has to say as a gubernatorial candidate.
Let's start by asking about family. We know you are from a very well-to-do family, but what the voters would like to know is what are your views on family?
Well, family plays an important role in my life. Look, it's thanks to my family that I'm sitting here to do an interview with you. Not to mention my lovely wife and daughter, who I cherish dearly.
What are the motivations that drove you to enter politics, and tell us what inspired you to run for governor of New York, as you mentioned in your above statement?
There's a burning desire within me to step up as a leader. When I look at the slippery slope New York is rapidly going down, I think as a born and bred American patriot with my educational background at the prestigious Yale, I would be New York's best bet to restore the state to its original glory.
Very well, Mr. Buchanan. However, some critics say that your vast wealth may make it hard for you to relate to regular folks. How do you respond to those concerns?
Well, you see, I won't sit here and try to flatter you with scripted arguments prepared by my publicists over there. The fact is, as I wouldn't want to relate to struggle, besides, let's not pretend. I'm not the only wealthy person in politics, am I? I'm here to show the people that if they work hard and stay focused, then they too can live the American dream. Furthermore, I see my privileged background as a testament to the hard work of my family and I. We earned it. At least I'm not hiding my riches.
Very well, Mr. Buchanan. Continuing on the topic of wealth, the Big Apple is well known for the glitz and glamour. But isn't it all alluring? Some parts of the city are, for lack of a better word, forgotten on a limbal dump. Or do you plan on developing hard parts of town like the Valley of Ashes?
The Valley of Ashes. This is an unsightly blemish of the state of New York, and I plan to remove it. And others, and the degenerates that call it home. I agree there are a few good people there, but the bad outnumber them all. We must keep in mind that we are a dominant people. You would all be right to support this move to avoid total and utter doom. In the meantime, there should be a happy day exist in this great city.
Wow, Mr. Buchanan, degenerates. Isn't that a strong word? Mr. Buchanan, do you also think Mrs. Merle Wilson is a degenerate? Our sources say you had a close relationship with her. Doesn't she also reside in the Valley of Ashes?
The Wilsons. Yes, I'm acquainted with them. They are the exception that I mentioned. Myrtle and George are good, honest folks.
Our sources say you had an extramarital affair with Mrs. Wilson. Is there any truth to this? Or do you think it will affect your image as an all-American family man people aspire to?
You didn't waste any time. Get into the room with him. Those are simple allegations that I will not entertain. I would appreciate it, Tashel. For the sake of continuing this interview, we change topics.
Well, Tom, or should I say Mr. Buchanan, what a response. Neither I nor the people of New York were expecting such a sound response. Mr. Buchanan, let me ask you this question. As a leader who tries to uphold morals, how do you plan to balance your personal life?
Well, just like any other person, I'm a human being first, that is, who will make mistakes rather. But I believe it's how we move forward from these mistakes. That's what makes the vast difference here. Am I perfect, I know? No, I'm not. However, I'm learning how to grow and improve myself to be a better person. Not as governor, but as a personal gain. We all make mistakes.
Very well then, Mr. Buchanan. Some may argue that your assertiveness borders on arrogance. How do you respond to those who question your leadership style?
Arrogance? This is some might call it arrogance. And some call it confidence. I say Wolves don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheeps. New York needs a leader who knows what he wants and isn't afraid to go after it. I play offense, and I won't let indecisiveness cripple progress.
Very well, Mr. Buchanan. In your campaign, you have talked a lot about strong law and order. What does that actually mean, and what specific measures do you plan to implement?
It's quite simple. Law and order is code for making sure the riffraff know their place. As for measures, I plan to hire a personal army of polo players to patrol the streets on horseback. That should scare the troublemakers away.
Thank you for that enlightening response, Mr. Buchanan. Now moving on to education. How do you plan to improve the state of the educational system?
Education. Well, I believe in the power of experience. So instead of boring folks with textbooks, I propose we send kids to exclusive field trips to my various properties. They'll learn more about life in a weekend at one of my mansions than they would in a year of traditional schooling.
Field trip, Mr. Buchanan? Well, that's certainly a unique approach. Finally, Mr. Buchanan, what are your visions for the future of New York under your leadership?
The future. I see New York as a playground for the wealthy, with gold-plated streets and mandatory polo matches on every corner. It'll be a utopia for the elite and everyone else can enjoy watching from a distance. A true American dream. Don't you think?
The elite, Mr. Buchanan. Very well. Well, thank you, Mr. Buchanan, for sharing your perspective tonight. We appreciate your time and wish you the best in your political endeavors.
Thank you, Tashelle. Thank you for having me. I'm sure it was your pleasure.
Before we conclude though, Mr. Buchanan, what message do you want to convey to the voters as they consider you for governor?
It's simple. I am a man of action. If you want someone to get things done, who doesn't back down, then I'm your guy. The state needs a leader with guts, and I am here to deliver.
Okay, Mr. Buchanan, very well.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host today about the commentary on Tom Buchanan role as governor running for the state of New York. The interview script with Tom Buchanan for the role of governor provides a glimpse into his political aspirations, strategies for addressing potential challenges, and the key policy areas he aimed to focus on. Here's a commentary on nobility elements. Tom Buchanan explains for entering politics revolves around a desire to contribute positively to society. This aligns with a common narrative used by political candidates to justify their transition from private life to public service. However, it leaves room for skepticism about whether his motive extend beyond personal ambition and whether his privileged background might shape his policies. Tom's acknowledgement of his reputation addresses concerns about representing the interests of the average citizens and attempts to give the notion that his success is being elected as a governor may bring about potential hurdles in gaining public support. Whether voters buy into the idea that his background can be an advantage rather than a disadvantage will depend on their perception and values. By positioning his success as an asset rather than an hindrance, he aims to redefine perceptions. Whether voters accept this framing or view it as an attempt to downplay privilege is a critical question. Tom's focus on economic growth aligns with traditional conservative values. This script provides a broad overview of his view on improving the healthcare and educational system. However, the interview does not delve deeply into specific proposals, leaving room for voters to seek more detailed plans. The script presents a clear policy stance, but the challenge lies in convincing voters that his economic vision will genuinely benefit everyone and not disproportionately favor certain groups. Tom's focus on economic growth aligns with traditional conservative values. This script provides a broad overview of his view on improving the healthcare and educational system. However, the interview does not delve deeply into specific proposals, leaving room for voters to seek more detailed plans. The script presents a clear policy stance, but the challenge lies in convincing voters that his economic vision will genuinely benefit everyone and not disproportionately favor certain groups. When confronted with questions about his past indiscretions, Tom takes a pragmatic approach, urging voters to judge him by his action in office rather than his personal life. Tom's response to this question reflects a common political strategy for separating personal life from public duties. By urging voters to judge him based on his actions in office, he attempts to shift the focus away from potential character concern. This strategy reflects a common political tactic of deflecting personal matter to focus on policy outcomes. All voters weigh personal ethics against political results will influence their receptions of this response. In the closing statement, Tom emphasizes experience and a commitment to positive change. This is a standard closing strategy that aims at leaving a last positive impression and building confidence in his candidacy. However, voters will likely scrutinize the specifics of his proposal and past action to determine whether his promises align with their values and priorities. In conclusion, the script provides a balanced portrayal of Tom Buchanan's political persona, presenting both his aspiration and potential vulnerabilities. The effectiveness of his candidacy will hinge on his ability to navigate public perception, candidate detailed policy proposals, and convince voters that he can effectively lead the state as a governor. Thank you.